All right, awesome. So let's talk about that. Let's break that down. You know, I know we were talking about sort of the harmonic analysis of rhythm changes and kind of how doing this shapes that up. So give us a little breakdown of kind of, you know, what you're doing there, how you're approaching that.
Yeah, well, as I said, the first part is I'm just using these shell voicings. So a shell voicing is the root, third, and seventh of the chord. It's everything you need to know. And really, these are the best voicings that you want to play rhythm guitar, because they're light, as opposed to sometimes people will play these big chords like that. That's not necessary. It's too heavy. So the more that you can lighten it up, the better. So I really just concentrate. Now, you'll see when we can look at the changes to I Got Rhythm and then talk about how it's evolved. A lot of times, people will play this B diminished line. And you'll see that's an important harmonic line. So that B diminished is actually a substitution, or actually it might be the original change, but it's often played as G7. But to kind of create a voice-led line, you play that B diminished. So that's really, to me, G7, or what we would say 5/7 of 2, C minor 7. But you'll see in these examples, I'm just using, so hopefully there's a PDF of just, and to me, they're simple voicings. It's about the groove. Like really getting this to feel light and bouncy. Because it will relate to the way that you solo. So I just am just outlining these changes. So for instance, if I go C minor 7 and I play sometimes this F7, instead of the root, I could have the root, and in this case I have root, third, or seventh, I put the fifth on the bottom. It's just sort of a little shortcut, still light enough of a voicing. And I'm just sort of combining those through that first part. So I'm really keeping it real straight ahead. So F minor 7. So if that was F7, I'm moving the third and I'm putting the fifth in the bottom. Now I'm adding, you could call it a sub 5. Sometimes I could just think of it as an approach chord. And that's, as we talk about a little further on, a real 4 to the bar. It's adding this chromaticism or these non-diatonic chords that make it move a little bit. So it's just, it makes it sound a little fancier. And that's what I'm doing there. And from that F, and the second 4 bars, is F minor 7, setting B7 sets up the B flat. E7 is tritone sub, but more importantly, it's more of just a chromatic lead into the E flat. A7 approaching A flat 7. So if you, I don't know, some folks, if you checked out my, the really early bebop dojo essentials, I talked about that rhythm guitar playing with the push on 2 and 4. So we usually want to put the non-diatonic or the approach chord on beats 2 and 4. And it pushes it. It gives it a little dissonance even to when you, so that when you hit your resolution, it feels, oh, good, we got there. So that's really what that's about. And then 3, 6, 2, 5. And then I start to introduce some inversions here in the second part. One other thing that can be nice that I like to do, is very simple. I'm going B flat major 7 to B flat 6. So it's a little line in there. Brazilian, it's a lot in Brazilian comedy. It's just a very simple thing that can make it sound very fancy. And then again, B diminished, that's an inversion, right? Diminished moving. And then I'm using this kind of back and forth chromatic above chord. See. Approaching the D7. So all those what's on beat 1 and 3 are the real chords that you're setting up, and you're using those chromatic chords. It's just to set it up. It could be, it's just a vibe to push it forward. So that's really what's going there. Now, you know, more of the same, sort of just to give you some variations on those shell voicings. When we get to the bridge is when I start to move into this thing about a real 4 to the bar, like the way Freddie Green played. So oftentimes we're talking about this 4 to the bar, like 4, you know, playing on every beat. But the way Freddie Green really played is he would play a different voicing on each beat. So in order to do that, you have to know your inversion. So I just want, you know, use this as an opportunity to introduce you to some of those. So I start very simply, just hanging on that D7 and then little chromatic, setting that up. So then when I get to this G7, I walk up. So there's these are my inversions of G7, and I'm just using that to set up the C7, a little chromatic, and then I do a little walk up here. How do I get, yes, I'm going to D7. Let me look, I gotta I'm going to F7. Oh, so now here's a very typical kind of thing Freddie Green would do. He's walking to walk down the inversions. So this is F7. These are both F7 to me. And I'm setting up the C minor 7 with the chromatic. So it's just, so in that way I'm moving diatonically through the inversions. And then the last half I just kind of keep it a little more straight ahead, just setting up, A flat approaching D, G7 approaching C minor, approaching F. But I wanted to show you a little bit. Now here on setting up the 2-5 to E flat. So instead of always having the root there, I started with so this is F minor 7 with the 3rd in the bass to B flat 7. And then B flat 7, there's my inversion. I use that little E flat major 7, E flat 6, E flat minor 7, E flat 6. So it's really just to get you into what we call a real 4 to the bar, which is the Freddie Green style. So a little understanding of how your inversions work, but the idea is that you want to hit your the main chord sound, whether it's the root in the bottom or an inversion on beat 1 and 3, and then you use beat 2 and 4 to either approach it chromatically or diatonically.